into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin! My temple!
Lucha Underground.
Yes. It always reminds me of like Inception.
Yeah.
When then fired up. Let's get fired up, guys. We're talking about episode 6 of Lucha Underground right here on your Lucha Underground after show. Wait, I thought that was the Terminator at first. I was like, we didn't have any Cage on this one. That's some Phoenix. There we go. Very good. Mark, I like it.
I like you.
I like you, man, and I like you guys for tuning in. There we go. That's right. Like I said, we're talking episode 6 right here on your Lucha Underground After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV. My name is Ty Matthews. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. I'm joined in studio.
In studio.
I was getting so used to just seeing your screen, or seeing your face on the screen.
Yeah.
So close yet so far. It's Mr. Jimbo Slice, James
Hello.
Frank, everyone.
I'm here.
You are
And
here.
not up there.
Of
but
course.
I'm sitting at the table. Up until like 2 minutes ago, I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this from the booth. And then they're like, no, you can go sit at the table. I was like, awesome. And then they told me this guy was here.
Such a pleasant surprise.
This is amazing. It's going to be a good day.
As always, you can find James at, what is it? The Jimbo Slice.
The Jimbo Slice.
That's
Two
what
E's.
it is. That's what it is. 2 E's, guys.
Yeah.
Like the classic style.
Yeah.
Sitting next to him, one of my absolute favorite people. He writes about wrestling in the smartest of ways. If you want to learn about wrestling, go read his stuff at SB Nation. You can find him at Sundown Motel. This is Mr. Bill Hanstock.
What an introduction.
I'm fired up.
Dang.
I'm fired up.
Well, you should
Watch
be fired
out,
up.
Melissa.
I don't need no monster,
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah,
I'm high on life.
You just. Yeah, if you really want to be Melissa Santos, though, you have to be like they call him Bill.
They call him Bill.
Dude, the face she gets every time she says the 559, because she's always like the same,
Right.
but then she's like the 559.
That's her little like Bruce Buffer turn.
Yeah.
Like that's her. Yeah.
Fighting.
Yeah.
When I went
the
to
559.
When I went to UFC 100, we were like the second to last row from the top, and I saw him jump and do that, and I was like, he really does.
Oh, it's the
that.
best.
I didn't know if it was a camera trick.
Well, like one of the first things that CM Punk said about UFC was he was like, if Bruce Buffer, like if he doesn't give me like the full spin, I'm gonna knock him out.
Oh, that's gonna be huge. Yeah. It's just like the way that Chimmel,
especially because he's never
Rated
gonna
R
debut.
Superstar.
exactly.
Pusta.
So good.
Jerry Lynn.
Well, we got a lot to get into tonight for episode 6, guys. When we
man.
last left Sexy Star, as we see on our little previously on, which I love that there are previously on segments on Lucha Underground, we saw her running from Marty the Moth's sister. We don't know how she escaped. We don't know what they did to her, what they're planning on doing to her. All we saw were Willie Mac's Willie
did
eyes.
this to you?
Guys, if you don't know about Willie Mac, or The Mac, as he's known on this show, go watch his stuff, listen to his episode of Art of Wrestling with Cole Cabana. He is a fantastic person, and one thing that we've always talked about for years is the Willie eyes. Mm-hmm. And when Willie gets intense, or when he gets excited, or when he gets just like emotional about something, he's got these huge eyes, and of course they deserve like a huge, grainy zoom in the segment.
Was it like dramatic hamster? Like dun dun.
That's exactly
like,
right. We got to get dramatic Willie going. So that's kind of the last time that we left them. I'm just going through my previously on notes. Also, Pentagon Jr. demanded a match with Prince Puma from Katrina for trying to humiliate him. He decided to try to snap her arm. She teleported right out of it and said that was a huge mistake. You don't cross an ageless teleporting ghost lady. That is easily, it's definitely
still a mystery. Yeah.
I mean, she's from a bygone century, guys. We can surmise that much from that portrait that we keep seeing. You know.
She was like, I see you've played Breaky Army before.
Oh, that's amazing. That's not an armbar. This is an armbar.
Oh, wow.
Not only that, but speaking of Katrina, she also is quite miffed that King Cuerno wants to cash in his Gift of the Gods title against Mil Muertes. So she says, you know what? How about this? How about you're going to defend that title? Again, I'm paraphrasing, of course. How about you're going to defend that Gift of the Gods title? Verbatim. Just add some bangs. Yeah. You're going to defend that title against Prince Puma in a ladder match. We got to get a sound clip of Dario Cueto saying ladder match, by the way.
No,
this is a ladder match.
The one drop you absolutely need on
exactly.
Ladder match.
So let's get into episode 6. We get Mil Muertes standing at an altar, and he summons Katrina. His arm's still in the sling. He summons Katrina into the room, and for the very first time, we hear Mil Muertes speak for himself. And that was unexpected.
Mil Muertes speaks a lot in this episode.
He does.
And because we've never really heard him speak at length before, I was watching it, like, the second time that he speaks in the episode, which we'll get to, I was like, he kind of sounds Russian.
Right.
Like, he sounds like Ivan Drago or something.
And just, I wasn't expecting that voice. And so I think the first time I watched the episode, I hadn't really paid much attention to what he was saying. I was just like, oh, that's his voice.
I hated it. I was
you
like,
wanted to keep the mystery going?
It sounds like Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop when he's like, "Who's my daddy and what does he do?"
What does he do?
Like, I was like, why doesn't he speak Spanish?
Right.
You know,
Right.
like with the subtitles.
Well, it's because the people the decision they make of like speaking Spanish and being subtitled versus speaking English is like how good you are at speaking.
Really?
Like
That's probably true.
like
yeah.
Sexy Star can't speak English very
Sure,
well, so
sure.
it just sounds better to like Mil Muertes. Like it doesn't maybe sound like you wanted Mil Muertes to sound, but I thought it was.
He doesn't sound like Death Incarnate quite.
Are you gonna like
but
redub it?
I
with,
would have
like,
loved like grunts or like if he
Sure.
didn't even just.
I mean, really, it's
Or
like
if he had the willy eyes and he was
Of
just
course.
like.
Well, it's like we've been saying this whole season. Mil Muertes is Shao Kahn, and so you want to hear that voice, you know, the Shao Kahn
or
voice.
just like something that's like more threatening, I guess.
They do M-Dog's voice. Why not do his?
This is true. That's a good point. That is a really
Like,
good
wait
point.
a, I was just like, wait a minute. Like,
Well,
M-Dog has a deep voice.
You just like, I mean, Jesse Ventura's not doing anything. You just get him to be like, Katrina, you've gone too far this time. I'm going to snap your neck if you don't give me a match against Puma
Holy
and
shit.
Pentagon Jr.
Unless, and
Mark.
if
Oh my
Jesse
God.
Ventura's busy, you could at least get James Adomian as Jesse Ventura,
Right.
as Mil Muertes.
I ain't got time to be in a ladder match.
Oh, so
That'll be a soundbite.
So the reason that Mil Muertes is speaking is because he wants a shot at both Pentagon Jr. and Puma. He's got heat with both of them. He is not happy that Katrina is pitting them against each other rather than letting him take them out. And you know, we get this backstory that Katrina has known Mil, or as he was originally known, Pascual Mendoza. Katrina knew him for his entire life, ever since that earthquake that claimed his family. And she says that if it wasn't for her, he would still be buried underneath that rubble. So, you know, watch it. Watch your tongue. I think she's saying step off a little bit. Once again, paraphrasing. But, you know,
the way that you're putting it makes it sound like the plot to Guacamelee.
I
Video game.
like that.
It's actually not that far off.
No.
wow.
I like
Soon we'll
it.
find out Mil was fighting for the governor's daughter.
Actually, the actual fact of the matter is that the entire storyline of Lucha Underground is just the beginning of Man vs. Food, where the luchador's punching the drumstick.
Oh, man. Adam Richmond, let's get you on the show.
That's the true origin story.
Lucha Libre tacos. Now, yeah, so Mil Muertes is furious. He wants both Pentagon and Puma. Even grabs Katrina by the throat, lifts her up off the ground, and of course, like, what are you gonna do to her? She's just gonna vanish right out of that, which is exactly what she did. Exactly what she did last week with Pentagon Jr. I mean,
the whole season is just going to be people like grabbing her
Right.
and then her disapparating, and they're going to be like, oh, like one by one, each person's going to discover she's an evil ghost lady.
Exactly. Well, it's like her doing that is like the way that when Batman is talking to Commissioner Gordon and he turns around and he thinks that Batman's still there, and then he turns around and then he's gone.
You never turn your back on Batman.
You never, like, that's what he does. He disappears.
And then, of course, you know, the tables get turned in Dark Knight Rises.
Of course, exactly.
So that's what that feels like.
Yep.
I don't know who I'm talking to.
Getting all meta with it. And that's, I think that's exactly what's going to happen with Katrina. One by one, like you said, people are going to realize, like, oh, this is just what she does. I can never hurt her because she can just vanish at will.
Like, what two things do I know about Katrina? Evil ghost lady, licks knives. That's the extent.
I mean, really, that's
you don't invite her over. If you do, you lock up your silverware.
Doing what she do.
She's gonna lick every knife in your drawer.
Doing what she do. And of course, we had her on in person in the studio last week.
She was amazing.
She mentioned that earthquake rubble being her idea.
Mm-hmm.
She mentioned the lick of death being her idea. She mentioned Dusty Rhodes being her mentor. A lot of good stuff. If you haven't watched episode 5, go back, watch it. We'll wait. I promise. Come back, pick it up. We'll be fine. Just, do your homework and catch up. So, Katrina vanishes. Mil Muertes is all chagrined. Let's get into our opening
really
match.
Quick, sorry, we have Zero Cool 666 in chat. Katrina found him as a boy.
Great name.
I doubt the educational system in the underworld is very good at teaching English.
That's a good point.
Me. Just me.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. In the underworld. I like that. I like imagining, like a whole city system.
Like they only had to read burnt Bibles or something.
They've got a city planner that's this isn't this street isn't demonic enough.
Yeah, if these words aren't in the Necronomicon, I'm not it's all Klaatu Barada Niktu over here.
Exactly. We're getting a lot of references, guys. A lot of deep cuts here on the Lucha Underground After Show. Let's get into our opening contest. Sexy Star taking on Cobra Moon. It seems kind of rare having a luchadora versus luchadora match on Lucha Underground.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's a lot more female talent or women that are in the league this year. When this match started, I was like, this is a rare instance of super rare instance of Lucha Underground, sort of like skipping a bunch of steps,
right?
Because it's like literally the last time we saw Sexy Star was a cliffhanger last week, where it's like, oh, she's running in terror. And her and Mac are being confronted by this woman that we still haven't seen. And all of a sudden it's like, no, that's cool, I'm going to have a match. That's cool, guys. I took a shower. Katrina said I was cleared to wrestle. We're good.
I think that's something you brought up where Vampiro and Stryker don't acknage vignettes.
The stuff that happens.
That's important though.
That's very important.
I've written a lot about this too, is that they're not privy to the and they like the people who go to the temple for the tapings, they're only privy to what happens in the ring. And they tape it all at once. So they're not. They're like, all right, well, I'm just going to work, and they're not privy to
when
the
Mac
ghost
came
shit.
out, everyone was like, "What is Willie Mac coming out for?"
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing that I had an issue with, because I thought the exact same thing. Last time we saw her, she's running for her life.
Right.
She can barely speak, and now she's making her entrance and making her heart hands and
the only thing that makes sense about her being in action already is that her boss is an evil ghost lady.
Right.
That's
exactly.
the only everything else doesn't make sense.
And if that had been the story, that she's kind of being pressured into this match and she can only think...
that was not the story.
No, not at all. It was just her versus Cobra Moon. And then, the Mac comes out and I get that the last time that we saw Sexy Star, he was kind of looking out for her, but I didn't really see a reason for him to be out here in this match. He was coming out just going you got her.
If his job was to make sure Marty the Moth didn't show up and freak her out, he did a horrible job.
A terrible job. Willie, come on. You did a bad job at that, at keeping Marty out of the temple. But, as far as the match itself, it was pretty, archetypical Lucha Libre. One, Cobra Moon using a lot of strikes, a lot of very snake-like
She
strikes.
did a lot, a lot of her motions were very snake-like.
Right. She's committing. But I did love...
She's a method wrestler.
She's a method luchador.
Did you guys like this Cobra Moon match better than the first Cobra Moon
Definitely.
match?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And
do you think that it was in part... do you think it was just part of it was her getting over the jitters of the suit and the being making her debut, or do you think that part of it was her basing off another woman as opposed to an overweight cat?
Sure. I don't know. I think it might have had a lot to do with Just the chemistry. It didn't seem like her and Bengala were really clicking.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm sure her and Sexy Star have crossed paths. At some point in time.
And I don't know if there was a language barrier then or now.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, but it did seem like this one was a little bit smoother. I did love that move that Cobra Moon hits on Sexy Star when she
hammerlock drop.
She gets her in that hammerlock, wraps Sexy Star's legs around her waist, and then drops to a sitting position. Very, very interesting, very innovative. And the way that Vampiro and Matt Striker sold that move, I bought that as possibly being the finish. You know, it was such an interesting move, and it targets kind of so many different things that, you know, those are the kind of moves that we love to see and that could feasibly finish matches.
Since Vampiro just came up, is this the first week that Vampiro's ever worn glasses?
It may be. It may be. I don't know.
I didn't notice that.
Ian Hodgkinson has got a,
4 eyes.
He's got to see clearly, guys.
Getting older, can't quite see the jugular anymore.
Exactly.
I loved that the chicks chop as hard as the guys.
Oh, of course.
I was like, oh man,
absolutely.
I wrote that. I was like, these girls chop just as hard. And
yeah,
my favorite was she like Irish whips Sexy Star into the corner, and she does this little like snake thing, and then charges in, and Sexy Star just kicked her right in the face.
Exactly.
So like you're gonna waste your time to do a little snake charmer dance. I'm just gonna kick you right in the face.
That's what that gets you. Committing to the bit sometimes leads to getting kicked in the face. If there's anything we've learned tonight, it's that.
That's true in all professions.
I mean, really. Now, normally, I hate on distraction finishes pretty hard. That's, as far as wrestling tropes go, kind of one of my least favorite. But I did kind of enjoy the way that they did it here. And I think that some of that falls on Cobra Moon going for the Dragon Sleeper so quickly. You know, we see Sexy Star get that sweet pendulum hold on Cobra Moon. We see Marty the Moth kind of come out of the shadows in the crowd, flapping his wings, doing what he do. And it's so quick. It's so brief. It looks like Sexy Star is about to transition into a Magistral Cradle, loses focus for just a second, and just immediately, without hesitation, Cobra Moon locks in that Dragon Sleeper for the tap out. And that was, you know, like I said, I'm not usually crazy about that, but I dug how quickly it happened, and it seemed more believable than it usually does. What did you guys think?
They said that was her first tap out, so I'm hoping that that'll get brought back. And I think, do they have a name for that? Are they just calling it like the?
What's that? I mean, the very first match when she did it on Bengala, I think Matt Striker might have called it a snake sleeper, but this time he just called it a dragon sleeper.
I definitely like it better when it's on someone. Like it looks like on her, it looked like, oh, this is gonna finish her off. But when it was on Bengala, it was like, really, dude?
Right. Sure.
That was something that like Jared was saying, and definitely when she like grapevines the legs around her and it looks legit.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I like the match. What I really like is I really like Marty the Moth's new like sleazier look.
Oh, sure.
He's like let his hair grow out and it's like greasy, and he's just I love Marty Martinez so much.
It works, absolutely.
So amazing.
He's great.
That's a dude I'd love to see like in a context like CWFH or something.
Absolutely,
like
definitely. I believe.
Also, every time I see that like pendulum hold, I'm like, I remember the SAT.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They used to do the
Taffy
puller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm curious. What did you think of this finish? I'm always curious about.
Well, distraction finishes, I know they bother a lot of people. They probably bother me less than most people. They do have like you said, it's a very old trope. Has a very specific place in wrestling, but it's been going on forever. But the origins of the distraction finish or the fluke finish have been going on for so long, and they used to exist because it was they would happen in like the non-title matches or when they're building someone up to challenge to the champion in a territory. So it's like, oh wow, the champ just got rolled up out of nowhere in a non-title match. What's going to happen in 2 weeks at Madison Square Garden when they're in a steel cage?
Sure.
Like it serves a very specific purpose, and we really lose sight of that when, for example, in some promotions, you've got the same two people like wrestling every week, building up to a pay-per-view match between those two people.
Right, exactly.
It definitely like loses its luster, but I think it still serves a purpose in that it's sort of like, oh, there were extenuating circumstances,
Sure.
I want to see a definitive finish between these two people. Like, I think it still does work. It's not always as effective as it should be, and I would say most of the time it isn't as effective as it should be. But like, it's been around forever. It's not like a new trend.
Well,
like,
that's the thing. Like, tropes are tropes for a reason.
Yeah, the new trend is that thing of like, we're only going to have these two people wrestle each other because they're in a feud together, and they're only going to wrestle each other until they wrestle each other.
Right.
For real.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it didn't, like, normally it'd be like, oh, hey, what's he doing down here? And the person gets up and goes to the ropes and is like, meh, meh,
Yeah,
meh.
right,
And,
right.
oh, roll up from behind. Oh, wow. It wasn't like that. It was like, like you said, a
Yeah.
split second of like, hey, what are you doing here? And then she was already in.
But I think
yeah.
that this distraction finish, you know, like, one, it's sort of uncharacteristic for the company, for Lucha Underground, and two, like, it's so weird just because there's that massive narrative leap of like, oh, this was a cliffhanger, we want to see what this pays off, and then it's like, oh, everyone's just cool, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, maybe
Her gear should have been like ripped, or like she should have had like schmutz on her
she
face
was
or
like,
something.
she was messed up the last time we saw her,
right,
and
yeah.
now she's taking a week, and like,
Just constantly looking over her shoulder, even.
or just like even like Matt Stryker and Vampiro being like, you know, Vamp, a little known fact about Sexy Star, she gets kidnapped like constantly. she's up to, I believe it's like 32 kidnappings.
Like in DC Cab.
She never remembers which car is hers. DC Cab, that's a great pull.
But I think, and especially with this story, you know, ostensibly Marty the Moth should be inside her head at all times. You know, Marty and his sister, who we've yet to see.
Yeah, it's just like everything about it is so weird and so uncharacteristic for
Who
the
do you
company.
think
That's
it
a good
is?
word. His sister?
Well, I know who
We
it
do
is,
know.
but we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know like
you
storyline,
guys both
kayfabe
know?
wise.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Oh.
we'll
I
talk
was like,
about it later. Yeah.
My guess is Karma.
That
That would have been
be
crazy.
amazing. I'd be super down for that.
I'd be into it just because like Karma and Marty the Moth as brother and sister.
As brother and sister.
And like,
That'd be
imagine
incredible.
Willie versus Karma
Oh, I'd love
in
that
Lucha
match.
Underground. Like, how gnarly that
I
would
love
be.
that match.
Oh,
But let's move on to another great
Now
moment.
let's go all the way to the end of the episode just talking about this one match.
Let's talk about Famous B, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how to be famous.
423 get fame.
423 get fame.
Call it.
Apparently,
Like, legit.
Apparently, you can leave a message.
Yeah, who would have thunk? But it's a real legit number.
And if you're lucky enough, he will take you from a jobber to a robber.
To a robber, and you will steal that spotlight. See, it's a leap, but they make it there. But I loved this even more than I loved the first one because it was very the way that he's throwing those punches and
not even touching him,
it reminded me a lot of Black Dynamite, which is one of my absolute favorite films. Like,
You threw that before I walked in the room.
Look at what grown folks is talking.
take you back to Crenshaw Pete, those hot ass coat hangers. This is not the Black Dynamite after show as much as I would love it to be. But that's what it reminded me of. And I love that these two luchadors specifically keep popping up.
Yes.
They were in PJ Black's vignette. They were in Tejano's vignette. They were in Famous B's commercial.
They were in Cobra Moon's vignette.
They're in Cobra Moon. These two, like, sad sacks just cannot get it together enough. They're taking odd jobs being in Famous B's commercials. They're getting beaten up by Tejano in bars.
It's gonna be some meta storyline that pays off in like season 3 or 4.
God, I would love
But
it. I would love that.
they're clearly on camera talent based on this.
Right.
So I'm dying to know, like, on their headshots, what are their special talents? Like, can ride motorcycle, stop jewel thief.
Yep.
Decent with nunchucks.
You can break a candy glass bottle over my hand.
Will get whipped by a bull rope.
Exactly.
What if they were like dudes that were trying to find the temple but couldn't
Yeah.
find it, and they
And
were
they
like,
also couldn't
"We'll just
find-
put on masks and we're just gonna follow these
They'll
wrestlers
find
around."
us.
And yeah, like
And
we're
they
just
also
gonna
couldn't-
sneak in together.
They also couldn't find Dario's, like, death temple.
They
Yeah.
couldn't find the other temple. They're
Right.
just wandering.
Yeah.
One thing that I did, not to take it back too far, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Tejano's vignette, where he's just like, he's cutting wood and he's drinking at bars. It reminded me of like the Lucha Libre, like Real Man's Man.
Yes.
Like he's the Lucha Steve Regal.
Well, what it reminded me of is the SNL sketch, The Whipmaster.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember what I'm...
Yeah.
But like it's the episode where like I want to see the episode where that sketch went, where it's like a fill-in for the Whipmaster. So it's a guy who's like with Tejano's rope, like trying to cut wood and stuff, but he just keeps like killing people.
Well, and I did love that it had the whip sound effect.
Yes.
It's a bull rope. That's not a thing. As like, I don't know too much about bull ropes. I think they can't crack like a whip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to be super strong.
You got to be really
so strong,
really good.
Or maybe just in the temple, because sound effects in the temple are.
We
just
do know we
extreme.
have talked about the acoustics in the temple.
They're immaculate.
But now another thing that I loved about this transition is that it goes smoothly from Famous B right into Rey Mysterio and Dragon Azteca.
You pull out and you
turning
see
his
that
TV.
they're watching the TV.
Yep, it's like an episode of The State, guys.
And Ray turns the TV off, and Dragon Azteca, bless his heart, gives the worst line reading of, I was watching
Hey,
that.
I was watching that.
Who did this to you?
That was a good
Hey,
one.
you, get your damn hands off her.
It was very George McFly. But I love the idea that Dragon Azteca was just hanging out in his training
Standing
area.
up,
watching.
And, like, Ray's like trying to throw kung fu punches, and he's like, hang on, I want to see how this infomercial ends.
I want to get famous. Ray, chill.
I didn't get the number.
I want to see if they get that stain out.
Like, I love that he legitimately was invested in that commercial. Like, he wants to get famous. He wants to be a robber.
Brandon Stroud from With Spandex pointed
Love
out
Brandon
in
Stroud.
his recap that like any confrontation that happens outside of the ring, kung fu moves.
Yes.
Anything inside the ring, no kung fu moves at all.
Exactly.
Which
That's-
I'm waiting for this nunchuck battle that we've seen in like the
glorious.
teasers.
Right.
That is going to be insane.
It's gonna be good stuff.
Very
Nunchucks,
excited.
yep,
Yeah.
they come into
A
play.
fellow chucker, eh?
Yeah, I really. They should definitely like when they do that like that tag team match that's inevitably coming down the pike. They should just all have a different TMNT.
There you go.
Weapon.
Bo Staff.
I want to see Jack Evans just
who's
like
got a
jumping at people
katana?
with size. Yeah.
Yep. Now let's talk about. We didn't really get a lot of backstory in this vignette. You know, we got that Ray is kind of preparing him for his destiny.
It was just sort of a reminder. Well, I love the purpose that it served to like put the Famous B commercials like in the universe.
True,
Like
exactly.
they're a thing that exists. Like people are watching these commercials. But I liked like clearly this half of that was just to remind people like Ray's still here. He's still coming. Don't worry.
Right. And now for one more vignette, let's go to King Cuerno's house. And
Anytime King Cuerno is in street clothes, I am there.
between that outfit, between all the animal heads on his wall, the way he's sitting in that chair with his foot on the bear's head, like how money was this vignette?
He is the biggest badass. And he's not only the biggest badass, but like, you know, like representation is so important in Lucha Underground, and it's so like refreshing. And to see a dude like repping the culture that hard,
Right.
and being like, this guy is the ultimate badass, like that's so valuable.
Right, exactly.
that so much.
And another thing that I loved about this is that we got to see a little bit more kind of compassion out of King Cuerno. We got to see, you know, he's a little bit more three-dimensional. He says his exact words were, "I'm not a bloodthirsty killer." You know, he really does enjoy the thrill of the hunt.
I wish the other half of like, I'm not a bloodthirsty killer would be like, look, I got a permit to come to the temple to thin the population. There's a real overpopulation problem. All these luchadors are going to ruin all these crops.
It's lucha season. I'm allowed to hunt.
Exactly. He's just trying to do his part.
Like now I've been told to only kill the bucks.
But yeah, and so it does seem like he's kind of veering a little bit more towards Technico territory, if you will. You know, but kind of in the vein that Pentagon Jr. is.
He finally lost it with Katrina.
Right.
Like he finally he dissolved their nebulous partnership was.
Exactly, yeah. And so Love King Cuerno. We're going to see him later on tonight. But guys, if you're like me, you love Lucha Underground, you love pro wrestling, you love combat sports, and you love MMA. So MMA fans, I want to talk to you for a second. So listen up. You listening? Listen up. The only thing more exciting than watching MMA is being a part of the action yourself. And you get to do just that with one-day fantasy for every major fight card over at DraftKings.com. Now, if you don't know DraftKings.com, DraftKings is America's favorite one-day fantasy sports site where you can win huge prizes every single time you play. All you gotta do, here's what you gotta do. You just pick 5 fighters and you pile up points for significant strikes, takedowns, knockdowns. It reminds me of the Brawl for All a little bit. A little bit of Brawl for All.
No one's picking bargain.
Exactly. You pick 5 fighters, you pile up points, all of that stuff. You outscore the competition, and you're crowned fantasy MMA champion. Who doesn't want to be a fantasy champion, guys? You can square off against your friends in a custom league, or you can even join an existing one to play for huge cash prizes all year long. You already know the fighters. You follow the matches. Now put that knowledge to the test for a shot to win big. All you got to do is go over to DraftKings.com, use the promo code TAPOUT, that's TAPOUT, and play for free with your first deposit. Promo code TAPOUT for free entry now. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time.
Oh, I was just going to be like, ring the bell.
Speaking of big time.
DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Exactly.
Well, clearly the easiest way to win is you put both Conor McGregor and Butterbean in your lineup.
That's how you do it.
Boom,
that is
there
how
you go.
Butterbean wasn't even in the Brawl for All.
No, but he
just destroyed the shit
out of the winner.
Poor Dr. Death.
But speaking of the big time, we got a double main event, y'all. Let's get into Prince Puma versus Pentagon Jr. We got the grudge match going. Prince Puma showed Pentagon Jr. that he could snap his arm if he wanted to, but he decided to be the bigger man and let him go with a warning. And now we've got this grudge match that starts hot. We get 2 sling blades right in a row from Pentagon. I love the way that Prince Puma kind of rolls out of the first one just to get hit with the second one. I mean, it didn't go on for very long. You know, we keep getting these kind of non-finishes, which I think in this context is great because it's going to lead up to an epic blow-off. But what did you guys think of what they were able to do?
I loved how when Puma's coming out, Stryker's like, Prince Puma put Lucha Underground on the map. Like,
right?
This is the guy that got everyone's eyes on this company.
Sure.
That was great. I loved how they were going like move for move, the sling blades, and then like Puma rolls out of the ring and just jumps to the top rope and hits a gnarly flying clothesline.
It's,
like,
you know?
Like, okay, give me a second. Let me compose myself. All right, I'm back. Like, bam. It was great.
Exactly. Bill, what'd you think?
Yeah, obviously another awesome match. I don't think that anyone really expected this match to have a clean finish, especially after like so soon after their first match, and then also Katrina's warning. Like I don't think anyone expected this match to have a clean finish. Although, if you'll note, technically they're now 1-1 because Pentagon got attacked by Muertes.
Right.
So if it was indeed a disqualification and not a no contest. Pentagon wins that match.
Interesting. So. See, I've always wondered about that, because over the years in wrestling, we see when 2 people get attacked, no matter which one of them gets attacked first, it's usually deemed a no contest. So I've always wondered, like, what's the time window there? Like,
well, no, like you have to attack both guys at once. You have to do a double clothesline.
Not necessarily. We've seen one guy get attacked and then the other guy, and it's still deemed a no contest.
I think the time window is. I think it has something to do with egregiousness.
Okay.
Well, especially because we've never seen it in Lucha Underground, but you would assume since it's Lucha, Excessivo Castigo is in play.
Right. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen that.
This, no. So Excessivo Castigo is when you pull someone's mask off or kick someone in the balls. Okay. It's not just a disqualification. It's you crossed a line that we don't cross.
Right. It's literally excessive punishment, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like the F word in Chikara.
Exactly.
I loved how Puma hit some gnarly dive, and Vamp's like, "That's a poster."
Right. Exactly.
And then he hits the dive, and Pentagon's on the ground, and he goes to give daps to the fans, and 3 fans don't have like 3 fans have Pentagon Jr. shirts, and they're all just like Zero Miro.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they won't cheer for him. They're just like, no, man, we're for Pentagon.
Now, one thing that we haven't mentioned over the course of this episode is that Shao Kahn, Mil Muertes himself, is, conspicuous by his absence. He's not looming from his throne from Dark Olympus. He's not watching the action. And near the end of this match, we see why. Pentagon Jr. comes off the corners with a Mexican destroyer, hits him with that, but then we see Mil Muertes with his arm in a sling coming down the steps, tears that sling off, and just starts wrecking house on everyone. Huge Uranagi on Pentagon, spears for both of them, double flatliner. I mean, just making his presence known.
It was crazy because like the match is going, and at some point they cut to like a really wide, far angle, and I was like, that was weird. I wonder if someone did that on accident. And then at the end of the match, I was like, oh, because like Lucha shot like a movie.
Sure.
That was like your signal of like someone is watching this going on.
Right, exactly.
And I was just like, they're so clever, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
Genius.
So then we see Mil Muertes and Katrina walking backstage, and Katrina, a little proud of herself, she goes, see, all you needed was a little motivation. But Mil Muertes is not done talking tonight. He says that next week he's going to defend his title against both Puma and Pentagon Jr., and then he says, this is my temple, and no one will stop Mil Muertes. What do we think about him saying that it's his temple when Katrina is the proprietor?
Well, she has the last word. She's like, no.
Sure.
It isn't.
Do we think that that's going to come to a head?
Oh, man.
I think if it does come to a head, it will come. My prediction, not knowing how this turns out, I think if it does come to a head, it will come to a head in the form of like he will like either he'll get fed up with her and try to attack her, and then it'll just be like no,
right,
and then like Mil Muertes banished forever, like Phantom Zone,
right, exactly,
or it'll be in the form of her just being like, you screwed up one too many times. I'm done with you.
Right.
And like, I think that, Muertes is, like, I think that this week and last week have sort of revealed, like, Katrina's the monster at the end of the book. It's not Mil Muertes.
Right, exactly.
It's her. She's death or Satan or whatever.
Right, right.
That's it. She's the end of the line. So it's not going to be, oh, jeez.
Right?
Someone just licked a knife somewhere. It's not going to be like, she's not going to get comeuppance from Mil Muertes if she gets comeuppance.
Sure.
I feel like things are building to like Cueto or his family has to be the one to put Katrina away.
Oh, man. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. Now, we get an announcement, breaking news from Matt Stryker and Vampiro. In 3 weeks' time, we've got Aztec Warfare 2, y'all. Now, basically, how it works is there are 20 competitors involved. 2 men or women start in the ring, and every 90 seconds, a new competitor is added until all 20 people have entered. Eliminations happen via pinfall or submission, with the winner getting a guaranteed shot at the Lucha Underground Championship. And I am excited for Aztec Warfare.
Is it only people who are on the roster?
Nope,
Or
they said
not
they said they
necessarily.
sent out the invitations. It's 20 of the greatest talents from all over the world.
This is going to be crazy.
I'm pretty stoked, especially because all of the specialty matches in Lucha Underground have so much pageantry involved, whether it's Aztec Warfare or Grave Consequences. There's so much happening.
Okay, if you got to see one person in Aztec Warfare who's not in Lucha Underground already, who would it be?
Oh my gosh.
Sammy Callahan.
Oh, dang.
I'd love to see that.
The
I'd love
Death
to see
Machine
that.
in the temple.
I mean, other than like Kevin Nash.
Sure. Maybe I'd like to see Marty Skrull, maybe.
Oh,
my
the villain.
God.
dude.
I love Marty Skrull.
But full-on villain with the coat, the umbrella, the glasses.
When else would he? How else?
Not Party Marty. Not Party Marty. I think that's a good question.
I would have to say Jervis Cottonbelly.
Oh,
wow.
The sweetest man in pro wrestling. Gentlemania taking over the temple.
No. You know, who
He's all got like a flower for Sexy Star. Hello, man.
Right.
in a similar vein, I would love to see Dalton Castle.
Oh my
Absolutely. The boys.
Maybe Dalton Castle going to toe to toe with Pimpinella Escaleta.
That would be incredible.
Oh man.
That'd be absolutely incredible. The boys would fit right in.
Yeah. if there's ever anyone who was like tailor made for
the temple.
Oh my
Dalton
god.
Dalton Castle and Los Niños.
Yes. And these are Los Niños.
I love that. That's so good. Well, guys, let's get into our second of the double main event. It's for the Gift of the Gods Championship. And Mark, what kind of a match is it? Yes.
Nailed it.
Oh, that just made me so happy.
Dude, the El Rey Network has a video of 22 minutes of Dario Cueto saying ladder match.
Of course.
Yeah, let it roll.
Say, wouldn't you?
Let it ride.
I'll let it ride and I'll come back to it every now and again, see where it's at.
After you finish this after show, go and watch that. Watch 22 minutes. Don't skip forward. Just see how many you can get through of that. Oh, that makes me so happy.
I love it.
But this match, I mean,
Glorious.
we saw Phoenix and King Cuerno, toy with the ladder a little bit in their last encounter, but this was off the charts. What'd you guys think of this?
I loved how it wasn't just your typical hang the belt from a hoop type thing.
I love that
So,
little, Tetris frame
it
that
looked
they have.
like a temple.
Yeah.
And then,
I never
like-
thought about that.
Like, I wonder if it's made that way because it's supposed to look like a temple, or so that they can hang the trios titles from that.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a
So-
good
They
point.
did have a trios ladder match. That's
Did they?
right. Yeah.
Did they have like a gnarly?
It must have been.
I think it was that same. I
But we
think it was
didn't
that same
notice
frame.
because they're just
Because
all
they
in
were
a
all
line.
hanging. Yeah. So I thought that
Nice.
was
Yeah.
was crazy.
It's probably
Tons
for
of
both
different
reasons.
ladders.
Right. And these ladders seem especially unforgiving.
Van was like, "These aren't your Home Depot ladders. They got staph infection and all sorts of stuff."
Exactly.
In fact, you could even say there was a cornucopia of ladders.
Oh man, Bill. Oh, Kathy, if you're watching, that
was for you.
That was a Kathy level pun if there ever was one.
So that ended up.
That was amazing. I was literally about to say something that completely threw me off my guard.
Well,
Oh yeah. I was
ladder
gonna, we talked about the ladders having staff. It really does. This temple reminds me of did you ever see Down Periscope with Kelsey Grammer and
Oh,
Rob
yeah.
Schneider? Feel like I need a tetanus shot just looking at it.
Oh, there's a pull.
That's a deep cut, guys. Go watch Down Periscope.
Were you weighing whether to go with the down periscope or the McHale's Navy reference?
Oh man, I was like, "Oh, what was that other one?"
I was always a Down Periscope guy.
Ty's just out here like, it reminds me of my favorite movie, Sergeant Bilko.
My family had a lot of very obscure favorites.
Yeah.
We loved Down Periscope. We loved Multiplicity.
Multiplicity's
With Michael
classic.
Keaton. So good.
I like Steve.
Multiplicity is the movie that taught me to hate pan and scan.
Oh, that does.
I was like, what's happening? Like, it was the first time I ever noticed pan and
I never
scanning.
put that together. That's
Because
exactly
there's
what
so
it is.
much like split screen
It's
and like,
so noticeable.
8 people standing side by side. So like, pan and scan's always like, grr, grr, like, jarring.
Right.
So I was always like, what's happening?
I've never known the term for that effect, but that's exactly
That's
what
crazy.
it is.
Yeah,
scan?
yeah. Like,
Love it.
I work in film, and I had never heard that.
Dang, guys, come on.
Oh man.
I just made a movie and have no idea
Yeah,
what that
I
was.
should buy that.
It's okay.
But this ladder match was absolutely amazing. What I love about King Cuerno is that, just like Cobra Moon, he commits to the bit. He embodies his character. He sneaks around with the ladder, and he aims and he creeps.
And Stryker, he picks up the elephant gun. It was like golf commentary for like big game hunting.
Sure.
He's sneaking behind the prey.
Or it was
He's
like a
picked
National
up-
Geographic
yeah,
special.
He's picked up the elephant gun, and oh no, he's moved. I was just like, oh man, this is
It's
great.
so good, but I love that. I love the embodiment of the character. I love that twisting springboard clothesline that he hits off of the ladder, leaning up
yeah.
against the barricade.
And that stomp to Phoenix on a chair.
Yes.
So brutal.
Exactly. But there's so many good spots.
Yeah.
The temple just really lends itself to brutality.
I thought it was so crazy for like a ladder match. He like tried for the belt like right when they started, and then they didn't even wrestle in the ring. They just wrestled everywhere else, kicking the shit out of each other with
I
ladders.
mean, if you think about it, theoretically, you want to make sure that your opponent stays down so that you can just grab that belt.
And
I
as
love-
far from the ring as possible.
Exactly, yeah. They only grab the belt when they believably think that they could win it, which is something I absolutely love. Yeah. They're not just like doing that thing where they scamper up the ladder like 5 seconds into the match,
or that thing where they're like pretending like they can't climb the rungs.
Exactly. We knew after that double jump Rana through the table that, that was it.
Yeah.
And then that thing.
But
what the hell?
Right.
Like, no, I'm not gonna just jump up and Rana you. I'm gonna jump over and then I'm gonna pause on the second rope and then I'm gonna springboard to the top and then give you a Rana.
Sure.
To the table.
Every time Phoenix does a rope straddle like springboard, I'm like so blown away because it's like I don't think people really fully grasp how insanely difficult.
Exactly.
When he got to the ring, he climbed up the ladder and then walked on the ropes to get into the ring. I was like, who does that?
It's amazing. But we got to talk about the spot of the match, which is that somersault plancha over the top of the ladder, off the balcony.
He just crushed him.
I mean, just incredible stuff from Phoenix that we see consistently every time he's on the show.
Yeah.
Gnarly. I love the back body drop into the crowd, and then he stood on the railing and double stomped off the railing.
Right.
So like obviously we don't have enough perspective yet to really like rank this like effectively as but I in my opinion, like absolute bare minimum, it's one of the 10 best matches they've had. And like I'm tempted, like I said, we don't have the necessary perspective yet, but I'm tempted to put it like just below like Grave Consequences All Night Long and Pentagon Vampiro.
I can see that.
I think it's one of like it's probably one of the 5 best matches.
But Bill, how does it rank as a
ladder match?
Thank you so much for that.
I think it's probably the best.
So good.
Best one that Lucha Underground's done.
I think so. Oh well, now do you think that it's better than Ivelisse and Helico and Son of Havoc versus Disciples, or the crew?
Just because it Ivelisse was not at full strength.
True, very true.
And one of the things I love about season 1, one of the things I really admire is how much they were able to do with Ivelisse and how well Ivelisse was able to perform and how well they were able to book those matches considering her injury.
Exactly.
But I mean, like, and that was part of the story of it is like, Katrina, or Cueto booked me in a ladder match. I can't climb a ladder. Like we're already at a disadvantage. So that was great. But I mean, I think this blows that ladder match away.
Definitely, yeah.
Because like as much as we're invested in the Unlikely Trio, at that point we definitely weren't invested in. Was it the crew, or was it Disciples of Death?
I think it was the crew. Was it the crew?
I think it was
the
crew.
I know you'll tell me if I'm wrong.
Whichever team.
Right.
Like at that point we weren't invested in the crew.
Sure.
I mean, we like the crew, but we're not.
Well, and I've talked about this storyline at length this season, but I'm so much more invested in the crew now.
No, it's great now, but you know what I'm saying.
But yeah, like back then,
Here, like we love Cuerno, we love Phoenix, and we're rooting for both of them in different ways.
Right.
So, and it's also like the culmination of this really long feud. So
exactly, and I love at one point Matt Stryker talks about Cuerno giving Phoenix this look of respect, and I think that that's even more embodiment of the character. Cuerno respects his prey the way that like Ahab respects Moby Dick.
Right.
He knows that he has to put Phoenix down however possible. So he's gonna go for an avalanche thrill of the hunt through a table. It's interesting that he didn't go for the thrill of the kill though, because we saw that that's what he needs to put down Phoenix. Phoenix is the only one that's gonna kick out of the thrill of the hunt. So he needs to hit him with the thrill of the kill.
Maybe that's where the respect comes in.
And as we learned, King Cuerno is not a bloodthirsty killer. Really, finishing his prey is more means to an end for him.
And he enjoys this particular hunt so much that why would he want to end it?
Exactly. It's like Joker and Batman. If he catches him, he wouldn't know what to do with him. So good. Also, we got to talk about that double bump off of that frame.
That was gnarly.
As they're both hanging off. Rick Knox is hustling, getting that ladder out there.
Was it Marty just like run in the ring and try and move that as quick as
I think it was Knox. I think it was maximum referee.
I just saw the ref just like run in there and like get the ladder out of the way.
Such an amazing visual because of that structure that they had. And if you go to Lucha El Rey on Twitter, there's an amazing still photograph from outside the ring of them both hanging from it.
Oh, incredible.
So rad.
I think my buddy John Reyes Cadiente, who you can follow on Twitter at JRayCad, he makes these amazing like static but sort of moving images. And I think he used that shot.
Nice.
But he put it inside our AFTERBUZZ TV logo.
Pretty
It's amazing
awesome
stuff. Bringing two things together, just like Reese's. It's amazing. John's a buddy of mine from college who we randomly reconnected over Lucha Underground. And he makes these amazing images.
Lucha Underground brings people together.
It brings people together, guys. That's what it does. If you're not watching, start watching. And if you haven't caught up on season 1, it is now available on iTunes. So make sure go catch up on that. Watch everything. Watch Aztec Warfare. Watch Grave Consequences. Watch Ultima Lucha. All of that stuff.
It's a fantastic deal too. Like you get like 30 plus episodes for like
$45. Exactly.
And you watch it on your phone. You can watch it on a plane.
Yeah, you can watch Lucha Underground anywhere you want.
You can watch it underground.
You can watch it underground, literally, if you get service.
No,
but
you don't have, if you download
if you download it, then you don't even need that. You can watch that on iTunes. You can catch us on iTunes. We've been hearing you. We're a little bit delayed on some of the episodes, but they're all up now. All of our after shows are also on iTunes, so you can watch them. You can watch us. You can watch them together at the same time.
Catch up on all of the old
so nice. Good. But shockingly, that's the end of the show. I mean, we didn't get anything.
Was there a vignette?
We didn't get anything during the credits.
Because I didn't know if I missed it.
Nope.
No, fully half the episode was the ladder match.
Yeah.
And it needed every last
This
moment.
may have been the first episode of the season without like a stinger
It was the first match.
during or after the credits.
It was the first one of this season, yeah.
Right. Which, you know how much we love those, but, you know, sometimes you got to give that time to your favorite type of match, you know? So,
are we going to get into predictions?
That being said, let's get into some predictions, guys.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
I'm glad you said something, Jimbo. I would have forgotten about my favorite part of the show.
Because I'm thinking so next week we have Phoenix versus Mill, right?
We've got
Puma versus Mill versus Pentagon.
We've got Puma versus Mill versus Pentagon.
Oh.
Matt Stryker made a point of saying that we don't know when that title match between Phoenix and Mill is going to happen.
Okay.
Well, because the Gift of the Gods, part of the rule of the Gift of the Gods is you have to
defend it,
announce a week beforehand.
Okay.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
It is.
I'm just wondering.
It's like a bag of sand.
It's like a bag of sand, man.
I'm hoping that Phoenix or whoever has the Gift of the Gods title, I want them to lose it because I want to see the battle. No, but I mean, like,
you mean
try and cash it in and then lose it because then like the 7 pieces
they get redistributed.
Sure.
I mean, no matter what, if they use it,
lose or win, they get redistributed.
Oh, as soon as you cash it in.
Because if you beat the guy, you get the title.
Oh
and
yeah,
then Gift of the Gods gets redistributed.
I just want to see another gnarly like 7-way match. To see
of course.
We will.
Who can compete?
That'll be an Ultima Lucha tradition.
Excellent. Words. Absolutely. Bill Hanstock, let's get some predictions from you.
Just any prediction?
Anything. I mean, like concerning Lucha Underground, but I mean, I guess it could be any show. What do you think is going to happen on
Magicians?
What do I think is going to be pitched on Shark Tank this week? Something dumb. And one thing dumb and 6 things that are great.
Yep. Mr. Wonderful is going to be out right away.
I really hope that next week we see Marty the Moth's sister.
Okay.
I hope it's next week.
Okay.
Or if not next week, we get some explanation of why everything was just fine with Sexy Star.
Yeah, exactly. Why she's perfectly fine. Marty just let her go of his own volition.
Yeah. Also, I think that next week we'll probably return to the, at least in part, we'll return to the Jack Evans Drago.
Oh, sure.
Maybe we'll get some vignette of like why Drago has digivolved into like a full-on black metal goat.
He is kind of, yeah.
So
maybe we'll see Aerostar.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe he's soaring back to the timeline.
Back from the past to the present.
I have to go back to the present.
Green sparkles.
I'm thinking that Willie is gonna beat the holy dog crap out of Marty the Moth.
Yeah.
Just wreck him.
Willie eyes.
I think Willie at this point is looking out for Sexy Star, and if he gets his hands on Marty, it's done. And we've seen that side of Willie before. I think that might come out. Other than that, I'm not entirely too sure. What's that, Mark?
Well, part of the reason why I turned it red instead of just keeping it flashy is every week we don't see Dario Cueto. Cueto is a week that he could be getting much, much more powerful.
This is true.
And I do not like what we could see from him coming up.
Right,
if we haven't seen him in weeks.
Him and his brother Matanza. We know Matanza is getting practice / getting fed in the temple that they've got 375 miles away from Boyle Heights.
Yep.
So
sacrificial altar.
Very specific.
It's very, very specific. We plotted on our very first episode. We plotted out the circumference of all of all that could.
It could be Carson.
It could
be Vegas.
It could be.
Carson.
It could be like Southwest Utah.
It's Carson.
It could be. It's Carson, guys.
If there's any place where you could just set up a death temple.
Yeah.
Where's Workaholics Rancho?
Oh, Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? But what an episode, guys. Oh, amazing.
That was intense.
But Mark, let's get that sweet outro music going and let's plug ourselves. Jimbo, you first.
Okay, I'll be at PWG this weekend. If you see me, come by my Young Bucks documentary. The Young Bucks will be there too. You probably have it signed. Follow me on Twitter at @TheJimboSlice. That's TheeJimboslice. And you can find it on highspots.com. Yeah.
Bill Hanstock.
I'll be at PWG on Saturday, and if you see me, say hello, because I like meeting new people. You can follow me on Twitter at Sundown Motel. Make sure you check out CageSideSeats.com, SBNation.com/wrestling for all of your wrestling needs if you like to read about wrestling on the internet, and you probably do. I do Lucha Underground recaps every week. Please also check out my weekly wrestling podcast, Rudo Radio. It's on iTunes. It's everywhere. We talk about basically everything that happens in the week of wrestling. We don't really talk about TNA, but sorry.
As always, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at TyMatthewsPMA. If you're watching the video version, it should be down in that sweet little lower third right there. You can find me on various other after shows, Monday Night Raw, Second Chance, The Magicians, and of course, right here every Thursday night, 10 o'clock p.m., Talkin' Lucha Underground. Remember, if you're on iTunes, download, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, leave us a thumbs up and a nice comment, and be gentle, because we love you. But you know, that about does it. And also, watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Yeah.
You can catch me right on there, managing Big Nasty Eric Watts every Saturday, 4 p.m. on KDOC locally, U2 America nationally, or come out to Port Hueneme every second and fourth Sunday of the month.
And if they don't get CWFH where they live, they can check out the Patreon.
You can check it out on Patreon. It's only $2 a month, or you can just come out for free. If you're in the SoCal area, you can come out to Port Hueneme for free every second and fourth Sunday of the month, 3 p.m., all that good stuff. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, we'll be right back here, same bat time, same bat channel, next week, talking episode 7. But until then, viva la lucha!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.